one more step. In today's video, we're going to be talking about stagnation and how you can continually make progress towards your goals. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Damian Alvarez. I am on a mindset journey. I share all my findings with you here, so hopefully you can pick up a thing or two and implement it in your life today. So, stagnation. What does that mean? Well, dictionary definition of stagnation is a situation in which something stays the same and does not grow or develop. Now, I've come up with my own definition of stagnation, and it's common across the board to what people think, but I think that stagnation just means slow death. The way that I like to think about it is think about yourself in a body of water, right? Over time, that body of water is slowly rising, slowly rising. So if you're remaining stagnant at the same level the whole time, eventually that body of water is going to surpass where you're at and you're slowly going to start drowning. So that's why I think it means slow death for the most part. If you're not progressing, you are in essence regressing, right? Because things are getting more expensive in the world, things are becoming more unavailable for the normal person, so you have to be progressing to some degree in order to remain relevant. Now, the idea of stagnation to a lot of us is foreign because we are relying on our 9-to-5 jobs to pay for us, pay for our salary, and take care of us over time. So we're hoping that we get a salary increase every single year, some type of promotion to slowly be climbing that ladder. But if you consider the idea of inflation and everything happening in the world where everything is getting a lot more expensive, sometimes that salary raise or that promotion won't even be enough to make enough progress to beat that rising tide of water, in my opinion. I've witnessed it firsthand at my corporate job. In June 2022, I was an intern for the company working for $22 an hour, which was a fairly good salary at the time for me, just coming out of college, living at home, not really having very many expenses, but eventually I moved out, took on a bunch more expenses for myself, and that really wasn't cutting it. So luckily for me, after my 10-week internship program, I was promoted to a full-time employee on the team where I was making $32 an hour, so a $10 an hour raise in my overall pay. So that was really nice, but I was hoping for a little bit more. I was moving across the country. I was living in Scottsdale at the time. I was living completely on my own, paying for everything every which way, and I just wanted a little bit more money to do some fun things on the side, right? So I was hoping that over the course of some time, maybe I would get a salary increase or a promotion, something in my company where we would make more money, to have more money to do luxurious things, go on more trips, do more fun things, right? Because with this money that I was making, I was barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck. So that was from August 2022 when I got that full-time position, like I said, making $32 an hour. And I wasn't offered a promotion or a salary increase until January of this year, January 2024. So that was a full 16 months after I was declared a full-time employee at this company, where I was finally offered a raise and a promotion to the second tier of my position. Now, with that raise and with that promotion, I guess you can say, I was given a raise of just under $5,000 to my annual salary. So that just kind of goes to show you how little, when you're hoping for that raise, it's not as much as you would hope it's going to be usually. And that's a fairly nice raise based on my salary, right? I think it's like a 7 or 8% increase on my annual salary, which is pretty high for whatever raise gets you. But over the course of 2023 going into this year, things just feel like they're a lot more expensive than they've ever been. And that $5,000 increase on my salary was just a couple $100 extra every single paycheck. So it wasn't very much. I barely even felt it. And I was, I waited 16 months for this promotion. So that just kind of goes to show you how waiting for things to fall into place and hoping that your company takes care of you is not the way to go. And you have to set really big goals and you have to take steps every single day to try to reach them in order to live the life that you want. Now, after working in corporate for a while, trying to climb the corporate ladder, I guess you can say, or develop my career in a way where I am making more money over time and achieving more accolades over time, I've just realized that the idea of climbing the corporate ladder is really just synonymous with stagnation. Ultimately, the raises and the promotions that you get over time at a corporate position are only going to barely keep up with what inflation and what the cost of living rises nowadays. I think we've all felt it. Think about your last raise at your company or your last promotion. How much extra money did you actually get from that raise if you count it out? Right, it's probably not very much. It might not have even kept up with the rising market and how much things are costing nowadays. When you're wishing on a prayer for these companies to take care of you and to keep you progressing in your personal life and to have more money to do things, I think it's just a bad way to live. It's a bad frame to be in because ultimately all these companies care about is just their bottom line, right? They care about how much money they make off of you versus how much they're paying you. and they don't really care about your personal life or how much that you're actually going to be making from them and living off of, right? So a lot of times also when you're promoted, it comes with a lot more responsibility. So maybe you have, if you're promoted to a manager position, making a couple extra thousand on your annual salary, but now you have 3 to 4 team members to look after. Think about how much stress that raises on you. You're constantly thinking about work all the time. You don't really have a lot of time off because of that, because when you are off on the weekends or at night, you're constantly thinking about your new position and how you want to do well and all these new added stresses that go with it. So sometimes the raise isn't even worth it. A lot of times when we're promoted or given raises, our lifestyle seems to stay the exact same. Even though we have a little bit more money, we have more status, we have cooler things in the company, our lifestyle seems to either be the same or get a little bit worse due to lifestyle inflation. All right, if I'm making a little bit more money, then I might go buy a new car or get a new apartment, move it to a nicer part of town. But because climbing the corporate ladder and getting these raises is barely keeping up with the rising market costs, by buying something and committing to more expenses when you're doing that only leads to, a life of spiral that is constantly, you're constantly fighting the rising market costs, and you're just setting yourself back, relying on these companies to take care of you, in my opinion. The problem with this frame is this is all a lot of us are taught ultimately. Right, I don't know about you, but how I grew up, none of my relatives or family members ever went to college, so they believe that going to college and getting that 9 to 5 job, that really safe, secure job, was the way out. I believe that these people in your life, they aren't trying to do you malicious harm; they just don't know the other way. Or if your parents, maybe your parents didn't, they went to college and they got their 9 to 5 job and they lived a nice life for them. So they push that advice on you because they're doing it, they did it, it worked for them. But times have just changed, right? These companies are different now. The way that inflation has hit us hard is is pretty detrimental. We all hear the funny stuff on social media about how your parents maybe bought their house for 40 grand or whatever, but now it's 400 grand and we're still making the same money that they're making. It's all I really knew. Going to college, and I thought that was the way out, but now that I've done that and been there, I just don't think that it is. I've always known that there was a different way to do things ever since I was growing up, but I just didn't really have any role models in my life to show me how to do it, that I've done it before. So that's why I've turned to really mentors on the internet a lot of the time. They have done the things I want to do. It's become easier than ever to follow people in some type of space that you're interested in that have done crazy things with their lives, and you can study those people instead of the role models. Right? Growing up without social media or without these huge influencers, you can call them, or mentors online, the only people that you had to rely on was close family and friends that you grew up with, right? And if you grow up in a bad area where people aren't really successful and they're not doing a whole lot of things with their lives, all you know is the paradigm they give you, which is the saddest part about it, and it's exactly how I grew up. But the internet has completely revolutionized the game. It's opened up a lot of our eyes to different things that we can do in our lives, and it's been, the greatest blessing that I've ever had in my life. I tweeted on February 2018. I said, quote unquote, "There's got to be more to this whole life thing, man. More school, work, then die. Nah, there's got to be something else." So even as I would have been 17 at the time, I just always knew there was a different way out. There was a better way to do things. There doesn't have to just be this 9 to 5 grind your life away to some corporation. But there was no one in my life to show me how to do it. So I'm glad that I'm doing it now. I'm learning things every single day to do that, and I'm here to give you my frame as well. So the biggest paradigm shift that I've had since studying myself and learning about self-development and studying people online is that there is no man or woman in this world that can do something that you can't, right? We're all, at the end of the day, we are all humans. We all have the same baseline capabilities. The only thing that is different from you and another human is your mindset and the way your brain thinks about things. That was such a realization I had when I was listening to these people on podcasts talk about the way they thought about things and the way that they interpret the world around them and the experiences they've been through. I realized that I have been through a lot of the same experiences, but I have never thought about the world the way that they think about it. They just have a completely different perspective on things. They see things for what they are and how they can benefit them in their lives. And it's insane the amount of different paradigms people have as to why they're successful. The only thing different from you and that person that owns that business is just their mindset and how they think about things, right? That's all it really takes. You just have to adapt a mindset and a frame that allows you to think you can do whatever you put your mind to. And eventually, if you have the right goals, you have the right people around you, you adapt the right mentors, you take the proper steps, you set good goals, you take steps for them every single day, eventually you'll get somewhere better than where you are right now. I promise. Now, I never said that I was the wealthiest person. I'm not rich. I'm not living a luxurious life at the moment, but I really believe that the mindset that I've adapted through learning about these people and how they think about things will get me there one day. And that's what I'm trying to impart on you guys. The more people that can take different perspectives from different people online who are doing things that they want to do, the better off you'll be ultimately. All you have to do is view people's perspectives with an open mind, realize that they may not know everything, realize that their word is not end all be all, but if they have done something that you want to do, you can learn something from them. So that's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. That's what I make these videos for. That's why I write the articles I write. I'm trying to impart my paradigm on you guys. So hopefully you can pick up 1 or 2 things and make your life at least 1% better. That's my main goal here. So with that being said, here are my 5 tips to stop living a life of stagnation and continually progress. Take 1 step every single day towards your goals. So the first thing I have for you is to set your goals high. Aim really high. The higher the goal, the more that each of your baby steps will be, right? So if you have this goal to make $100 million over the course of your lifetime, each baby step that you make may be a couple $100,000, right? Each milestone you set will be bigger by comparison if you set bigger goals, right? If you set the goal of only making $1 million in your whole life, you will think about things a lot smaller than you would if you have goals that are huge. Now, it may seem unattainable right now. It may seem like this is unfathomable the way you set up the goal, but I promise it's better to aim super high and fall a little bit short than that than to aim low and completely surpass that goal. It takes a completely different person to make $100 million or $1 billion than it does to make $1 million. And the mindset and paradigm you have to reach those lofty goals is insane. If you only have the goal of making $1 million, you will never become the person that you need to be to reach those lofty goals and to become hyper successful. So aim super high, set your goals really large, and you will crush them. The second thing I have for you is to set measurable milestones, right? You need to have symptoms and light on the path that you're moving forward to ensure that you are on the right way, right? The example that I like to give is if you are trying to lose 20 pounds over the next year, you need to set measurable milestones like weighing yourself, tracking your calories, looking at yourself in the mirror, things that you can see and that are measurable data points that you can use to ensure that you're going in the right direction. If you're trying to lose weight and you're eating 2,500 calories a day, but every day you step on the scale and you're a little bit heavier, you're going in the wrong direction. Now, if you don't weigh yourself, if you don't look in the mirror, if you don't track your calories, you will never know if you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction. So that's a very simple example. The weight loss one is a very easy one to explain to you. But if you're trying to make a lot of money, or if you're trying to scale a business, you need to have measurable milestones on the path to your goal to ensure that you're moving in the right direction. Without any feedback, there is no iteration. I'm sure you've seen my other videos talking about feedback and iteration, but without having those things in place where you have indicators that you're moving in the right direction, you will be lost. It'll be like walking in the forest with no flashlight and no fire to guide you, right? You'll just be walking in any direction. Hopefully this way is the right way, but you may be walking in the opposite way of where you need to go. So make sure you set measurable milestones for yourself. Now, the third thing I have for you is a frame that I've developed from Alex Hormozi. So I've talked about him a ton on this channel. He's one of the biggest mentors I have in my life, even though I've never met the guy. I take a lot of his ideas from his YouTube channel, from his podcast, from everything he does, and implement them in my life because I've seen great success from them. So the number 3 thing that I have for you is you need to focus on the inputs rather than the outputs. Now, like I said, this is Alex's words, not verbatim, but this is kind of the basic premise of what he's saying. So you need to develop a list of tasks whereby completion of this list would make it unreasonable you do not achieve the thing, right? And the thing is your goal, whatever that is. So if you think about it, if your goal of today is to set 1 appointment with a potential client, how much outreach would you need to do that? Maybe 100 DMs or cold calls or emails, whatever it is, whatever that number is. You need to make sure that your goal for the day is not to book 1 appointment, but to do 100 outreaches, right? That way, you have a measurable thing, like we said before, you have a measurable data point that you can assess yourself on, whether you were successful or you failed, right? Maybe you do 100 outreaches, but you don't book 1 appointment. Then you need to go back and reassess your inputs and try again tomorrow, right? But you did accomplish your goal and you have some logical feedback there to iterate and to make a new end goal from, right? So by focusing on the inputs, you have a lot more leverage on your time You don't focus so much on the outputs. You don't stress yourself out with, failing your goals when you really have no control over them, right? You don't have any control whether or not people book appointments from your outreaches, but you do have control over how many outreaches you can do. There's a lot of things that can prevent someone from booking with you, but the one thing you can do to best set yourself up for that appointment being booked is just to do the outreaches. So make sure that when you're working on a goal, you make the inputs the goal rather than the outputs. The fourth thing I have for you is you need to continually set new goals, right? You should be consistently raising the bar for yourself when you are setting your goals. So an example I like to do for this, very simple again. Clearly I like fitness, so we'll do another working out example. I did this today actually, so I'll go over what happened was I wanted to go in the gym today and do an hour of cardio. Now, an hour of cardio was pretty tough, pretty rough. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do 5 minutes of cardio, let alone an hour. So what I do is, like I said, my goal was an hour of cardio. In specific, I wanted to run for 1 hour straight. So what I did was I got on the treadmill after my workout. I got on the treadmill and I started walking. Right, eventually that walk turned into a jog, a light jog for me, and then that light jog turned into a full-blown running pace for me. So after I'm at my running pace, I started my Apple Watch, started my timer, and I told myself you only have to run for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Once you reach 5, then you can get off the treadmill and you can go home. Now, what I do when that 5 minutes is coming close to finishing, so say at about 4 minutes and 30 or 40 seconds, I tell myself, you can keep going. That was really quick. You're not even tired. You're not even sweating it. Just go 5 more minutes for me. That's all you got to do. 5 more minutes, and I promise you can get off. And then when it goes to 12 or 9:30, 9:45 time, I do the exact same thing. That was pretty easy. You can do 5 more minutes. And I keep doing this over and over and over and over. And I keep tricking myself on purpose to end up reaching the goal of 1 hour. Call it what you want. It's maybe self-hypnosis or self-delusion or just straight up lying to yourself, but it works. And it worked today for me. It works every single time I do it. Even though I know going into the session that I'm going to end up running an hour, if I tell myself, just get on the treadmill, you only have to run for 5 minutes, and then I trick myself 5 minutes at 5-minute intervals, it just helps mentally with accomplishing the end goal, which is an hour of cardio. Now, this can be applicable to business as well. If you tell yourself I want to reach $1,000 in monthly recurring revenue, once you're close to that $1,000 mark, then you want to set a new goal for yourself. Maybe it's $2,000, maybe it's $1,500, maybe it's just $1,100, depending on what you're offering. Once you're close to reaching that next goal, you want to set another goal, and you want to keep moving the goalpost forward. So as you approach your goal, you want to move it forward a little bit. As you approach it again, forward again. As you approach, more. As you approach, more. And eventually you'll be way further along than you think you will. So like I said, call it what you want. It may just be lying, self-delusion, whatever it is, but it's a mental frame that's worked for me, and I hope it works for you too. Now, the fifth thing I have for you is you need to focus on self-education, right? We touched on this a little bit earlier, but you need to be surrounding yourself with things that are going to change the way you think about the world. In other words, your paradigm, right? You need to be surrounding yourself with people that have done what you want to do, who are in the mindset that you want to be at, who are doing things that you want to do. The truth of the matter is in your current state, you are unable to reach your goals. You need to become the type of person that can reach your goals. And the only way that you do that is through a series of mindset and paradigm shifts. The people that you're looking up to, the mentors you have online, clearly have something different about them. Like I said earlier, the mindset is the only thing different from you and the billionaire on the street. So you need to pick up on the way they think about things, how they do what they do, and what they're doing. The best way to do this that I found is just to do any type of long form content delving, I guess you can say, or dive into more long form stuff.